Most budgeting advice sounds good on paper but completely falls apart in real life, and if you've ever tried to follow it and still ended up broke, this video is for you. You're told to stop buying coffee, to track every dollar, save 20% no matter what, yet no one talks about the reality of rent that eats half your income, groceries that keep getting more expensive, and paychecks that barely stretch to the end of the month. You work hard, you get paid, and somehow the money disappears faster than your motivation on a Monday morning. That moment when you check your bank account and feel that tight feeling in your chest is not because you're irresponsible. It's because the system you were given was never designed for actual people living real lives in the United States. And here is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. If you're rebudgeting but still stressed, still anxious, still one surprise away from debt, then the budget is not working, no matter how disciplined you think you are. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why most budgeting advice fails and how to build a system that works even when life is not perfect. This video is not about becoming a millionaire overnight or cutting every small joy out of your life. And it's definitely not about spreadsheets that look impressive but collapse the moment something unexpected happens. This is about savings and budgeting that actual people need. The kind that works when your income is not perfect, when expenses show up uninvited, and when motivation is low. We were going to talk about how real people actually manage money, how to save even when it feels like there is nothing left, and how to create a budget that reduces stress instead of creating more of it. Everything you will hear today is built around one idea. Money systems should support your life, not punish you for living it. By the time we're done, you will not just have tips. You will have a clear framework you can start using immediately. One that gives you control, stability, and breathing room. And once you feel that control for the first time, everything about how you see money begins to change, which is exactly where this journey starts. Most people don't fail at budgeting because they're lazy or irresponsible. They fail because the budgeting advice they're following was never designed for real life. It was designed for a perfect world where income is stable, emergencies don't exist, motivation stays high, and every month looks exactly the same. But that's not reality. Real life is messy. Paychecks fluctuate. Bills show up unexpectedly. Motivation disappears the moment stress kicks in. When a budgeting system doesn't account for real human behavior, it doesn't just fail, it creates guilt, frustration, and shame. Think about how most people start budgeting. They're motivated after a bad month. Maybe their account hits zero. Maybe they had to use a credit card again. So they sit down, open a spreadsheet, write down every expense, and promise themselves this month will be different. For the first week or two, it works. They say no to a few things. They feel proud. Then life happens. A friend invites them out. Something breaks. Work gets stressful. Suddenly the budget feels restrictive, unrealistic, and exhausting. When they finally give up, they don't blame the system. They blame themselves. That's the real damage of bad budgeting advice. It teaches people that they're bad with money, when in reality, the system was bad for them. Most budgets rely on motivation, and motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. A system that only works when you feel disciplined is not a system. It's a temporary phase. Real budgeting needs to work on your worst days, not your best ones. Another reason budgets fail is because they treat all spending the same. They don't distinguish between survival spending and emotional spending. They don't account for stress, boredom, or burnout. Humans don't spend money logically. They spend emotionally. Ignoring that fact is like trying to diet without acknowledging hunger. Eventually, the pressure builds, and something snaps. There's also the issue of unrealistic expectations. Many people are told they should save 20%, invest aggressively, and still enjoy life. All on an income that barely covers necessities. When they can't hit those targets, they feel like failures. But the truth is, budgeting should be adaptive. It should scale with your reality, not shame you for it. The final reason budgets fail is that they focus too much on restriction and not enough on control. A good budget doesn't say, you can't do this. It says, this is what matters most right now. When people feel controlled by their budget instead of supported by it, they abandon it. Right? And when that happens repeatedly, they stop trying altogether. This is why the first step to better money management is team or discipline. It's a better framework. One that accepts that you're human. one that works even when things aren't perfect. Once you understand that, everything about budgeting begins to change. The biggest mistake people make when budgeting is trying to track everything. Every dollar, every category, every tiny purchase. That level of detail might work for accountants or people who genuinely enjoy spreadsheets. But for most people, it becomes overwhelming fast. When a budget feels complicated, it gets ignored. Simplicity is not laziness, it's strategy. A budget that works for real people is built around 3 simple buckets, not dozens of categories, not perfect precision, it's just clarity. The first bucket is fixed costs. These are expenses you can't easily change in the short term. Rent, utilities, insurance, minimum debt payments. These costs form the foundation of your financial life. If this bucket is too big, no amount of budgeting will save you, which is why housing and lifestyle choices matter so much. The second bucket is survival and flexibility spending. This includes groceries, gas, basic personal expenses, and things that fluctuate month to month. This is where most people feel out of control because they can't set boundaries, they guess. Guessing leads to overspending, and overspending leads to stress. When you give this category a clear but flexible limit, money stops feeling mysterious. The third bucket is guilt-free spending. This is where most budgets go wrong. People eliminate this category entirely and then wonder why they binge spend later. Guilt-free spending isn't a reward, it's a pressure valve. It allows you to enjoy life without sabotaging your future. Even a small amount makes a huge psychological difference. This framework works because it matches how humans actually live. Fixed costs stay stable. Variable costs need flexibility. Enjoyment needs permission. When those 3 needs are met, budgeting stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like control. Another key feature of this system is adaptability. Some months will be better than others. That's okay. A good budget bends without breaking. Instead of aiming for perfection, you aim for consistency. And consistency always beats intensity in the long run. Once people switch to this framework, something interesting happens. They stop obsessing over small purchases and start focusing on big decisions. They feel calmer, more aware, more in control. And that's when saving becomes possible, not because they suddenly make more money, but because their money finally has direction. One of the most common things people say is, "I'll start saving when I make more money." Well, that sounds logical, but it's rarely true. If saving feels impossible now, it usually stays impossible later, unless habits change. Saving isn't about excess income. It's about priority and automation. But the biggest mental block people have around saving is the belief that small amounts don't matter. Saving $20 feels pointless when bills are overwhelming. But the purpose of saving small amounts isn't the money. It's the identity shift. The moment you save anything, you stop seeing yourself as someone who can't save. Automation is the key to making this work. When saving depends on willpower, it fails. When it happens automatically, it succeeds quietly. Setting up an automatic transfer the day you get paid removes emotion from the process. You don't have to decide. You don't have to think. The money simply moves. Another reason saving feels impossible is because people try to save what's left over. The problem is, there's never anything left over. Expenses expand to fill whatever space they're given. Paying yourself first flips the equation. You save before spending, not after. Even small, automated amounts create momentum over time. Saving also provides emotional security. When you have even a small buffer, financial stress decreases. You make better decisions. You avoid panic spending. You feel less trapped. That emotional relief is often more valuable than the money itself. Once saving becomes automatic, it stops feeling like sacrifice. It becomes part of your system. And systems, unlike motivation, don't disappear when life gets hard. Most people think their problem is spending too much on small things, but that's rarely the real issue. The real budget killers are big, quiet, and normalized. Housing is the biggest one. If rent takes up most of your income, saving becomes an uphill battle. No budgeting trick can fix that. Food is another major trap. It's not eating out occasionally that causes damage. It's frequency. Convenient spending adds up slowly and invisibly. When people don't plan meals, they default to the most expensive option available in the moment. Subscriptions are another silent killer. Small monthly charges feel harmless, but they quietly drain hundreds of dollars per year. Because they're automatic, people forget they exist. Awareness alone can free up surprising amounts of money. Transportation, lifestyle inflation, and social pressure also play a role. Many people overspend to maintain an image rather than build stability. But real wealth is built quietly, often invisibly. Once these budget killers are addressed, money stops leaking. And when leaks are sealed, progress accelerates. An emergency fund isn't optional. It's the foundation of financial peace. Without one, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis, and crises lead to debt. Even a small emergency fund changes everything. The goal isn't perfection, it's protection. A $1,000 emergency fund can prevent thousands of dollars in debt. It buys time. Time to think. Time to choose. Time to avoid panic decisions. Emergency funds reduce stress more than almost any other financial move. When you're not constantly afraid of the next surprise, your entire relationship with money improves. You stop reacting and start planning. This is where many people experience their first real sense of control. They're no longer surviving, they're stabilizing. And stability creates confidence. Budgeting and saving are tools, but mindset is the engine. The biggest difference between people who stay stuck and people who build wealth is how they think about money. Poor thinking asks, can I afford this right now? Wealth building thinking asks, does this move me closer to freedom? Every small decision is a vote, not for perfection, but for direction. When you consistently vote for your future, momentum builds. Identity shifts. Stop seeing yourself as someone trying to survive and start seeing yourself as someone building a life. Wealth doesn't start with investing or high income. It starts with control, with systems, with consistency. And once that foundation is in place, everything else becomes possible. One of the most powerful forces quietly destroying people's finances isn't low income, bad budgeting, or lack of knowledge. It's comparison. And in today's world, comparison is everywhere. Every time you open social media, you're shown a version of life that looks effortless, exciting, and expensive. New apartments, new cars, constant travel, perfect outfits. And even though you logically know it's curated, filtered, and often funded by debt, it still affects you emotionally. It plants a dangerous question in your mind. Why does it feel like everyone else is doing better than me? That question is where many financial mistakes begin. It's not because you want to be irresponsible, but because you want to feel normal. You don't want to feel left behind. So you say yes when you should pause. You spend when you should wait. You upgrade things you don't need because staying the same feels like failure. Lifestyle inflation doesn't usually happen because someone suddenly becomes greedy. It happens because they're trying to keep up with an invisible standard. What makes this even harder is that modern spending is disguised as self-care and personal growth. We're told that if something makes us feel better, more confident, or more successful, it's justified. And sometimes that's true. But the line between intentional spending and emotional spending is thin, and most people cross it without realizing it. They're not buying the item. They're buying the feeling they hope it will create. The problem is that feelings fade, but payments remain. That new purchase might give a temporary high, but it doesn't fix the underlying stress. In fact, it often makes it worse. Because now not just stressed about money, you re-stressed about maintaining a lifestyle that doesn't match your financial reality. This is how people end up looking successful while feeling trapped. The most dangerous part of social comparison is that you usually comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You don't see their debt. You don't see their anxiety. You don't see their financial fragility. Many people you admire are one missed paycheck away from chaos, but their lifestyle hides it well. And when you compare yourself to that image, you're comparing reality to illusion. Breaking free from this trap requires a mindset shift. You have to redefine what success looks like for you, not what looks good online, not what impresses other people, but what actually creates peace, stability, and options in your life. Real success isn't loud. It's quiet. It looks like sleeping well at night. It looks like not panicking when something breaks. It looks like having choices. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to choose to be financially boring for a season, to drive the same car longer, to live in a place that's functional, not flashy. to say no without explaining yourself. This isn't settling. It's strategic patience. People who master this phase often look behind in the short term and far ahead in the long term. Another important step is becoming intentional about what you consume, not just what you spend. If certain content constantly makes you feel inadequate, rushed, or behind, it's costing you more than time. It's influencing your financial decisions. Curate your environment the same way you curate your budget. Protect your mindset, because your mindset shapes your behavior. When you stop trying to keep up with everyone else, something powerful happens. Your money starts working for you instead of against you. You spend with purpose. You feel less pressure. And most importantly, you start building a life that actually fits you. Not one designed for likes, but one designed for longevity. Once you've got your mindset right and your finances under control, the next step is building a system that actually works for your life, not just this month, but long term. The goal isn't micromanaging every dollar. It's creating freedom, peace, and breathing room. Money should empower you, not stress you out. The best systems are simple and automatic. Bills, savings, and even investing move on their own. You don't rely on willpower or motivation. Automation makes good habits effortless, and consistency beats intensity every time. Margin is key, the space between what you earn and what you spend. More margin means fewer crises, more options, and less stress. You don't always need more income. You need alignment. Align spending with your values, lifestyle with your reality, and goals with what matters most. When your money aligns, life feels calmer. Your system should evolve as life changes. What works now may not work later, and that's okay. Growth comes from adapting, not clinging to outdated rules. Once your foundation is solid, investing feels natural. You're not gambling for quick wins. You're building wealth slowly, reliably, and confidently. The final piece is self-trust. Every time you save, stick to a plan, or say no when it matters, you build confidence. That confidence changes how you make decisions in every area of life. You stop second-guessing and start acting from clarity instead of fear. At its core, a strong money system isn't about numbers. It's about freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom to choose, freedom to live a life that fits you. Years from now, you won't remember every dollar saved. You'll remember the moment money stopped feeling scary and started feeling like a tool. That's the promise of budgeting that actually works. Control, confidence, and the freedom to live life on your terms. If this video helped you, take a moment to pause and think, how different could your life feel if your money finally worked for you instead of against you? Remember, it's not about making more money overnight or following complicated systems. It's about creating simple habits, building consistency, and designing a life where money supports your freedom, not stress. Start small. Start today. Automate your savings. Create margin. Align your spending with what truly matters. Every small step is a vote for the future you want. And over time, those votes add up to real control, confidence, and peace of mind. If this video helped you, remember, this real financial change doesn't come from doing everything at once. It comes from starting small and staying consistent. Simple systems, give yourself margin, and let your money work quietly in the background. Subscribe to Smart Money Lab if you want practical money strategies that actually fit real life. In the next video, I'll show you how to grow your money safely even if you feel like you're restarting from zero. Your future isn't waiting. It's being built right now.